Yeah, thanks everyone for joining today. Spending time over the weekend for joining Odisha user group, and hope I can hope the session will be useful. And if you have any doubts or if you have need any clarifications, please feel free to stop me at any point of time and let me know, and I'll try my best to address your queries. So just a quick introduction about myself before we go into the session. So myself, Jeevarajan Kumar, you can call me Jeeva. So I'm working as a solution architect at Amunad Asia Private Limited, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP and Microsoft MCT. I also lead Singapore Dynamics 365 and Power Platform User Group, and I'm also a co-organizer of ASEAN's Power Platform and Dynamics 365 User Group, and I do co-organize Power Apps for Kids, which we started last year. Power Apps for Kids APAC. So the idea behind that was to spread the news about Power Platform to the students as well. And enough bragging about myself. So this is my YouTube link and my website link and my Twitter ID and LinkedIn ID. I will share this in the chat later after my session. Please feel free to connect and if you like to connect with me for any questions or you want to share any information, please feel free to do that. I might be busy at the weekdays, but I'll try to address back on the weekend. With that, so today we're gonna see on Dynamics 365 field service fundamentals. And yeah, so I don't have too many slides. I have only hardly 5 or 6 slides, and we'll be going through the application itself directly, okay, after the slides. So before I start the session, I would like to know how many of you are working in Dynamics 365 field service already, or how many of you have idea about Dynamics 365 field service? Can you please, yeah, 2, 3, get 2, nice, 4, 5. Okay, so bad news for all of you who raised a hand. So this session might not be so interesting for you because this is going to be a fundamentals, as the title says. So that's why I actually put this slide to give you some bad news at the friends. So in this session, we're going to see the introduction about field service and the work order lifecycle and how to generate work orders and different options of scheduling and how the field service itself will be fulfilled or serviced. And then bit of inventory management. So what will not be covered is kind of, I would say, advanced, like level 200, 300 kind of stuff. Is like generating work orders from API and schedule board customizations, scheduling via APIs and RSO, mobile app customizations, inventory adjustments, integration with ERP or connected field service. These are the areas that we are not going to talk about or see in detail. But if you have any questions or any clarifications that you need across this area, you can still let me know. I'll try to address it part of this session or later. Okay. So with that, after setting some context, let me just move on to the basic question: why Dynamics 365 field service? You already have customer service. You have done lots of XRM implementations, and then why field service again? So the field service, the term field service, as you can see in the slide, is to refer any service that is performed in the field rather than at a specific location, I mean, at the company or facility itself. Like, for example, you have a customer service where somebody calls you and you log a case and you try to resolve it remotely or where you do not need someone to go to the on-site at the customer location and to fix something that you can handle within the scope of customer service. But the moment you need someone to go to the customer location and do some installation or repair or fixing or whatever it is, right? If you need a person to visit at any place, your customer place, you need a workforce management, and that's where the field service comes into the picture. And when it comes to Dynamics 365 field service, it provides lots of tools necessary to deliver an on-site services and also to manage the mobile workforce. So what does that mean? It will allow us to dispatch workers to specific location for any installation, repair, maintain equipment or any systems. And it also offers multiple tools to creating work orders, scheduling and dispatching technicians, and the work order execution and asset management and inventory and billing. So which we will see a glimpse of what these are shortly. So now, regardless of the industry, the moment when we think about a field service, we typically think about a normal installation or a maintenance service. Not necessarily. Field service can be used across any industry for any kind of operations mostly. So what does that mean? If you see a classic example here, a healthcare, we are not offering any installation or maintenance service. Then how it is, how the field service can be helpful. So we have healthcare accelerator expert like Golaknath here. So basically, in this case, I can think about like you can use you can use doctors or you can schedule doctors and nurses, basically to do like if there's an in-person visit that a doctor or nurse has to do, you can use your field service to manage them as well, And yeah, so telecom is another area which I have been working recently. So you can have a field service technicians or group of individual technician or a group of technicians to install any new services, either a B2B or a B2C customer, doesn't matter. Whether you're talking about installing a simple router or modem at your home, or it's like for a whole company itself, where it might sound simple, but it is not, because you have to verify the connection. If there is no, you have to do some cable laying, the pre-steps that before the broadband gets provisioned to your home, right? If you take a simple scenario. So it's not just about someone going to home and doing the magic work to give you a connection, but it's all the pre-steps that has to be done as well. So typically you can have all this complete scheduling and management for this kind of industry as well. And of course, manufacturing and equipment maintenance is straightforward. So with that, if I try to simplify how it works, and what are the things that will be involved, right? I can just this is how I segregate it. I don't say this is the official way of segregation, but I typically segregate like this. So a work order, which is nothing but a work that needs to be done, and a workforce, which is the people who is going to do that work, and the scheduling, which sits in between the work order and the people, which means you are going to schedule a technician or a group of technicians to work. That's all. That's all. If you put it simpler, but it's more complex than it looks when it comes to actual implementation. But yeah, in simple word, for simple business, this is what it is. And yes, so I have just 2 more slides, this one and next one. So this one is work order related records, right? So I just said now work order is the actual work. Think it like a checklist or a to-do list, right? And a description of work. Let's say today someone comes to your home to fix an air conditioner or repair a washing machine, whatever it is. They will come up with some job sheet, right? They'll come to your home and they just see what needs to be done at your home, and they will just see the information. And once they complete it, they just tick, like once they complete it. And if there is any information they need or any assistance they need, they will refer some guide or like they call someone to get that information to do that service at your home. And then they get your signature and then they are done, right? It's very simple. So this is kind of that job sheet, I would say. And this is the person who is going to come to your home. Sometimes it can be one, it can be more than one as well. Okay. So this is what in records or related entities that is that is used, across the work order in a simple way. The data model itself is more. There are lots of entities related to this work order. It's more complex, but the simplified version, I would say this one, right? So you got work order, and which can take a work order type, and then priority of work order, and then service territory where the work order is going to be done. Okay. So work order type is it's very self-explanatory. It can be sometimes installation, sometimes can be a repair, sometimes can be just a service like health checkup, whatever it is, right? And priority based on certain work will be priority, certain work will be less priority than other works, right? And then the inputs that is needed for the work order is a billing account and a service account. That's your customer. In case if you are talking about B2C, well, billing account may not be B2C, good example, a B2B. Let's say Microsoft wants to start a company in Odisha, a branch in Odisha, and then, sorry, Odisha, and then if someone, they contacts Airtel maybe, right, for example, and when Airtel goes and provides a service at their location, they do bill Microsoft to the Microsoft headquarters, which might be in Hyderabad, but the service account would be Microsoft Odisha branch, right? So that's the difference between billing account and the service account. And the work order itself is the resource. Resource is nothing but the manpower, the people whom we're going to book against this work to do this work, okay? And the resource requirement is the one that says what are the things that is required to do this work, okay? We'll see in detail, like for example, a skill set. For example, if there is an installation work, that work requires a different skill set than a maintenance work, obvious, right? And if there is a doctor has to visit some place to do something, then his skill set is different than actual some equipment installation, correct? So that is what skill set. And then you can have a different proficiency level and skill set, but let's not go into that one. And then you can also have preferred companies, like for example, let's say you are a business, you run a business, and you have multiple contractors within under you, right? Like let's say Airtel has a multiple subcontract to do some installation work for Microsoft. And then you can say which, let's say, a north zone or east zone, west zone, if you split the location that way, if you split the whole horizon that way, you see like you have set of preferred contractor that Airtel will have to go and do some service at the north zone. Then this specific work orders that is being serviced at that specific zone can be allocated to certain type of contractors or employees internally, right? So those kind of things can be put in the resource requirement. So apart from that, you can see this case is also one of the trigger to create a work order. And then work order, sorry, it's not a, sorry, my bad. The incident is not case here. It is the incident type, which is kind of a template. But work order generation can happen via case and agreement and sales order. Let me come there. Sorry to jump. Right. So incident is the template, which is, if I go this way, maybe it's easier. So that specific work order can have characteristics, as I said, the skill sets and the service task, which is the checklist, you know, like a field engineer, field technician will do at your home whenever he does something, and the product that he will use for that specific work. For example, let's say when you talk about installation, right? Typical air conditioner installation, you need to have that indoor unit and outdoor unit. Apart from that, you also need to have, let's say, some copper pipes and all these things, right? So those and all will come as a part of the product. So what product that particular work is being consumed, right? What are the products that particular work has taken to do that? And service. So product will always have some quantity, and services is like hourly based, right? It's not called quantity. It's rather a service itself, like what kind of service you want to do, like cleaning or drilling. These are all services, okay? Action that person will do. And then, yeah, so this is the base core entities across the work order, or core setup across the work order to fulfill that work order, okay? And the work order goes to different stages of life, you know, which is called work order life cycle. So if you see this first stage, which is work order creation itself. So when does the work order gets created? A work order can be created from the case, a ticket. As I said earlier, someone calls support center and they think that a field engineer has to go to fulfill the job. Then they can just create a work order from the case itself, and that will be associated to the case. And then an agreement. So agreement is, you can think about like automatic trigger that when it meets, it creates a work order. A classic example is you buy a car, and let's say the company tells you once in 6 months the engineer will come to your home to do free service at your home itself, for example. In that case, what happens is you can configure in a way that once in 6 months. This is very similar to entitlements if you're coming from case background. Sorry, customer service, if you have used customer service module. So the agreements is something is used to auto-generate the work order in this case, okay? And it can come from sales order as well if there is a in-person on-site required. And with that, next one is scheduling. As I said in my how I see it, after work order, you schedule the respective person to do, and then you dispatch. Dispatch is when you schedule, you can plan upfront, okay? And dispatch is the actual sending person on the respective day, and that person will do the service, and then finally it can be reviewed and approved. Based on that, whether we can send an invoice and then it can follow the sales, the quotation process, or you can do the inventory adjustment to carry to the ERP to continue or integrate with the ERP. Okay. With that, without taking much time, just digest this information quickly. So field technicians are nothing but individuals who are performing the work or going to execute the services for the customers in the field. Okay. Work order is just I told, it's kind of a job sheet where it performs what is the work, who the work needs to be done, where the work is going to perform, so and so. And work order products are the products that will be used in the work order, and services are the services that will be done in the work order. Service task is like to-do list or a checklist that will be done by the field technician on the field. And incident is kind of a template which populates the products and services and service tasks. So let's say there's an installation service which has been created, which is common all the time. You don't need to create every single time when you create a work order. Rather, you create an incident type, incident, and then when you moment you choose the incident, it will get populated all these things. It's kind of a template, reusable template. That's all. And customer asset is something. Let's say I sell the AC, and then once I install it at your customer's place, that will become a customer asset. The product will become a customer asset, right? Because it's in the customer place now. And agreement I just told now, it's kind of an entitlement, which is auto-generated for the work order. And then for scheduling, we use a control, the scheduler will use a tool called schedule board, which is a good, it's a cool one. You'll see the flexibility of that. And then resource, field technician and resource, what does that mean? Both are same basically. Field technician itself is one type of resource. But a resource can be non-living things also, like tools, equipments, facilities. This also can be a resource, right? So that's what in a healthcare scenario, when you try to schedule, let's say, a room, operation theater or a consultation room in a hospital, that can also be a resource, and you can allocate them. And then requirements, I just told you, like it will carry the what kind of things needed to do the work order, and then bookings is the one that once the field engineer or the resource is assigned to the work order, it creates a booking. That's why you confirm this specific resource against specific work order. And service task is to-do list. Scheduling assistance is kind of a semi-automated tool compared to schedule board. RO is fully automated tool. Okay. Yeah, with that, I think let's quickly jump into the application. Any doubts so far?
So far, no questions actually.
Okay, sweet. Let's move on then. All right. So, well, the moment you sign up for the field service trial, you'll have field service and the field service mobile, right? So field service mobile will be used by the technician in his mobile. So I'll show you that also if time permits. And then you have the field service web application, which is this. And the moment you come into the field service web application, if you are setting it for the first time, right? Just a minute. Microsoft has recently added this getting start page, which is quite useful, I would say. Quickly, you can set up the records which we discussed now to start your business right away. So when you try to set up frontline workers, so what happens is it will prompt you to create the resource, right, which I just told you now, and it will create a users and then map it as a resource. And then account is the customer location. So we saw two type of account. What are they?
Billing and service accounts.
Yeah, sweet. Yes, billing account, service account. And then then you can trigger right over, you can create a work orders manually and then you schedule it. Okay, this is like quick step to just do the things. And if you see the app itself, you have a navigation of service, which is actually you're going to do the servicing. And then sales, if you're, that's the sales related records. If you have an invoice and then flowing into sales, you get service, you do field service, then you can go to sales to do the invoicing and all, like, but we are not going to get into that, but it's just, it shows the basic navigation. And then inventory is the inventory adjust to handle the inventory related records. And then finally, resources, which is extensive for the setting up the resources, right? So if you remember my the three circles, so this part is for this one, I would say, and this work order is mostly around in this menu, and the scheduling is around yeah, it's here as well. Okay, and then settings is basically the basic settings that you do at the settings level, right? So you can see there are certain preconditions, pre-checks to be done. Like for example, geolocation. If you want, you can enable it here, and you can set your prefix of work order, like your order numbers. How your work order has to be. Each work order should have a prefix, and like you can see, this is the basic general settings in one liner. Okay, I don't want to go into too much details of that, but it's basically to set up something. Like you can set what is your work order status default or like that. It's very similar to the if you're the customer service, it's very similar to the settings that we have in customer in case of SLA and those kind of stuff, right? Quite similar to that. And then RMA, RTV is used for invoicing. And yeah, let me not go into details of this. This is confusing right now. If I start quickly, I'll go to work orders, which is my core entity or the table where the field service is completely dependent on. And if you can see, this is in unscheduled, right? Which means it's just created. Okay, it's just created. That's the first status of the work order. And if you quickly see this, and if you digest the information, it will be very relevant to what we just saw in the slide. So it has different status. So out of the box, it's just create work order and schedule work order and close the work order. But you can always add more based on your business. And this is auto-generated. If you set some prefix in your field service settings, you will see that auto-generator will have some prefix. As we can see, service account is the compulsory, mandatory, because this defines the location where this particular service is going to be executed at. In this case, our customer is A-Datum Corporation, and it will be executed at the customer's location, right? So the customer location will be the customer address in this case, and that's where it's going to be executed at, which means in this address, for example, okay? And then you can see the default status is unscheduled, which means the work order is created and it's in unscheduled. It's yet to be scheduled to someone to take and work on it. Okay. And as I said, work order type, it can be different work order type. In this case, it's just installation and replacement, and price list, of course, because when we are using product, we need to know what is the cost of that product, right? And typical CRM stuffs. And let me not go into details of the non-mandatory stuffs, but basically it says what is the similar to, yeah, let me just complete the mandatory first. And this is the incident type, right? There can be only one primary incident type, but you can have multiple incidents apart from the primary incident type. So with that, let me just come to this tabs, and then I'll go into the incident type. That way it's easier. Let me cover the product service task, and then I'll come to settings, because settings is a bit tricky. So we need to know what is the product that is required to fulfill this service. Okay, either you can add one by one like this. If you already have a product in your system, you can just choose them, and you can say this is the product required to fulfill this service, and how much unit it is, right? Like how much the unit type and how many quantity you want. The warehouse will be involved for the inventory management, But other than that, if I say I take 2, then no, and then let me save and close. And there's a catch in that to use this product as a field service product. Under the product, you have a settings to say that this will be used in the field service. So you have to enable that. Let me show you. Here, yeah. So you can see there's a type, right? It says inventory or non-inventory. So if you make it as an inventory, this will be tracked against the inventory. If you make it as if you keep it as a non-inventory, this will not be tracked as our inventory assessment, okay? Which we'll see shortly about the inventory assessment. And this is the one that will be the flag to tell us whether this needs to be converted to a customer asset or not. So remember, when you fulfill the order, when you complete the work order, the product that you're using here, right now the armband 150, for example, it will become a customer asset, which means you install it in your customer place, then it will be mapped against the customer, against this under this location. It will show here basically. Once you fulfill this, right now there's nothing, I believe. Yeah, but when you have fulfilled that work order and when you have this option to yes, automatically this particular product will be deducted from your inventory and will be added to the customer, which in this case aid item, and it will show here. Okay. And then similar to product, you can also have service. So as I said, service is something without a quantity, like a service itself. The name is self-explanatory. Like for example, armband installation, right? Which is a classic example. If I open this, you can see that it has a type of service. It's not a product, and it's not inventory. It's not inventory or non-inventory. It's a type of service itself. Which means it will not be converted as a customer asset because it's a service. It's the service you do, like installing. It's an action it takes, right? So now you added the service and you added the product, right? Now let me show what is service does. Anyone have any doubts? Okay. So service task is something the to-do list or checklist that the field technician.
Sorry, I have a question.
Can I take this after the session if you don't mind? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So the service task is the to-do list that the user has to, the field technician will perform and the site. Okay. So if you see this, right, for example, let me take one of these things. You see the time that is important. Let me talk about that in a while. And then if I just save this, and we see that this particular work is kind of a to-do list, or particular work needs to be done. It takes 15 minutes, right? If you see the overall duration of the job, it will be 15 minutes as well. Okay, it's coming from the incident type. Let me fix that. So, but the overall, the duration of the job or the work order is taken from the summation of these service tasks. Okay. Now, what we did is we tried adding one by one manually, but there's a trick to do that. Instead of, let's say, hey, this is the stops we repeat every single time, and it's really paying to create it one by one for each time, to add one by one each time. And instead of that, we can have something called incident type. So if I choose this primary incident type, right? Let me take installation, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't matter anything. So if I save this, asynchronous service, synchronous flow will run behind the scene to basically populate the services and the service task under that particular incident. So let me see if it has anything. Right. So technically it should. If not, never mind. Let me add it here, then it should. If I use this guy. It takes like 30 seconds or something, but eventually it will update all the, it will take what are the information or the product and services that is being offered by this, template. Basically, it's just template. Just think it like that. Or it doesn't have anything, or it has only service task. And then No provides. Okay. So you'll see service tasks being added. All right. I don't know whether there's an. I was playing around with that. I don't know whether I just stopped anything. This one. Never mind. So that basically will add your service task and products here, and then it will have the duration also automatically adjusted based on the duration of the some of the durations that comes from this service task. Okay, so let me make note of this and let me fix this. Right. Now, so what we have done, what I've seen now is we have a base, okay, a work order. Now, the next step is to schedule this work order. Okay, let's how to generate this work order. Let me park that. I'll go like try to group based on the activity, and then we'll just do a sunny day scenario where we have a work order, and now we schedule the work order to someone. Okay, so scheduling. Let me come back to the topic called scheduling here. So there are different ways to schedule. Okay, one way of scheduling is okay, who schedules first? Field engineers is not going the one who is going to schedule because they are the one who is going to go to the customer location to do the scheduling. The one who does the scheduling is called schedulers or dispatchers, right? So they work on if it's a human, by the way. What they do is they open the schedule board. Okay. One way is they can open the schedule board and they will see the list of jobs. Oops, sorry. So list of jobs like this, like like you can see these are all like unscheduled work orders. Work on recommend both the same, and they can do scheduling in different way. So for example, if I take this work order, right, 0222, to open this here, let me leave it here, and you can see it is unscheduled. If I just drag and drop to someone, it is passed, right? Let me booking status. I think my some of my code is breaking some stuff. Okay, never mind. Bad. Let me. I think there's something running behind the scene which is stopping me. Let me fix that. Yeah, so it's bad that I'm not able to show it live. For some reason, there's some error. But this is one way they schedule it, okay? And the moment they schedule, what happens is the status will be changed to scheduled. And behind the scene, there are some entities that's been used, which I want to show you when I do this parallelly, but unfortunately, it's not scheduling. Let me try the other way. The second way the scheduler will do it's a bit tricky because let me finish this right. In the schedule board, you got filters. So what you can do is, let's say if you see the filters, it says let's say it's an armband servicing, right? And you can have a characteristics or skill set called armband servicing. So what does that mean? You want to see only the resources who has this skill set potentially, so that you are going to only allocate your work to someone who has that skill set. Okay, it can do something like that, or you can just leave it to anyone. So in that way, you also have roles like based on the designation, and you can also limit to certain territories. As I said earlier, if you are thinking that like a work that needs to be done in the north zone of the city, then you can have territories being filtered. In this case, it's not like whichever territory belongs to WA, it only finds the resource from that. If it belongs to territory from California, it's going to bring the resources who is working in that territory, like that. So these are basic filters, right? And this is a complete kind of a manual, I would say, where the scheduler will filter and then he get the right resources, he find the right resources, and then he drag and drop. Okay. But there is something called semi-automated, which is like this. So if I click on find availability, if you see this will be changing, it will open a scheduling assistant. All right. So what does the scheduling assistant will do? So if I change the date to like from today to August, you see already, interestingly, the characteristics has been populated on this armband servicing and the flow data has been set as a territory, right? Where does this comes from? So this comes from the resource requirement, right? So what does the system basically is trying to get the suitable resource based on the conditions that you have in the work order and the suitable conditions that the resource has. So if I go back to my slide, it's trying to matching the requirements set in the work order and the requirements that your resources has, and it tries to put them together. Okay, and it suggests, it doesn't do, it will not put them together automatically, but it will show the scheduler the list of potential resources who can do that. Okay, so if I maybe it doesn't have enough resource, if I filter, take out some filter, it might show some resources. This is a trial and I do not have maybe sufficient resources to fulfill it. I think that's why it's not showing enough resource. Yeah, so let's say if a controller thinks that, you know, okay, this guy is pretty suitable for this. If I now add a filter, maybe batch servicing, you can see it will show some resources. Yeah, so I just book this guy. I think there's some bug running to create, stopping me to create a booking. But yeah, you can see system tries to create a booking. So that is the booking is the record that actually ties the work order and the field engineer. Okay. So if I go back to the work order, this is what I want to explore, spend some time on this before I stop the session. I want to show many things, but I think I'm running out of time. Guys, is that okay that I could take 5 or 10 minutes more? Because I think we started a little delayed.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
enter 5 minutes, it's fine.
Okay, so if you see this work order, right, the moment you have work order, there'll be something created behind the scenes that is called resource requirement or requirements, you can call it. So what does that requirement? This is a very key entity apart from work order. If you see that this entity holds a reference to your work order, and it will hold the from and to date. Okay, so basically this from and to date comes from work order as well. So it says that no, this kind of instruction that will be given to the scheduling assistant or RSO or even the manual scheduling, it will show populated this start time end time according to this by default. So we are saying that, hey customer, we will be coming to your place in between, let's say 9th and 12th of August. In this case, it's past date. It's weird. Let me just put today. Okay, so I'm just saying that, you know, hey, my guys will be at your place by, you know, like between 19th and 20th July. Okay, and if you see, this says skill sets here. For this work order to be executed, this skill set is needed. Okay, but as I said, scheduler can always go and play with it. If he feels like, you know, he don't have a resource with this skill set and he thinks that someone who can do it, he can always, you know, just take it out and find other one and replace it. And if he thinks that there can be more skill set needs to be added, and this is kind of let's say specialized work, he can add like more skill set as well, and he can find a suitable resource. But by default, when system loads up this kind of tool, the scheduling, any of the scheduling tool, either manual schedule board or scheduling assistant or RSO, it takes the data from here. Okay, and you can see it can have a skill set, and there's a couple of more things called resource preference and preferred organite is the one I just told you. Example where a company can have a preferred contractors which they can send according for this work with this location, something like that. Okay, this is very extendable, quite extendable framework where things can be happen. Things can extend. Okay, you can even see something called resource preference. Let's say, for example, like I am the technician and I did a bad job for the customer last time, and this customer doesn't want me again, you know, next time, maybe some other technician. So I can just set like this. You know, I can just put, I can just choose the resource and I can just say this is restricted. So system will not allow this technician to this customer basically. it can also have expiration date. For example, maybe next 6 months not allowed, and after 6 months maybe this guy will get trained. That's the hope, and you can have that as well. Some that kind of stuff. When you do that, your scheduling tools will not consider this resource. As an opposite, you can also have a preferred resource, which means it will give preference to this resource to perform that order. Okay, and same applies for the org unit. Org unit is like a company, like a contractor within a company. So if I say Fabricam US is my contractor who is recommended for this kind of job, I'll just choose him. Okay, something like that. And with that, what happens is, let me come to this section. Okay, so once you have the resource requirement, I mean this resource requirement is created when the work order is created. Okay, now the left side part is done. This part is done. Okay, you have work order. You got the preference for the work order in terms of resource, in terms of time and everything. Now we're going to see how the resource is being tied. We saw a glimpse of scheduling tools available. Let's see how the workforce has to be set up, right? So to set up the workforce, we go to resources. You can see if I try to open any resource, see a resource can be a, okay, let me just click new, right? A resource can be a user, which is your employees, or can even be a contact, or can be equipment as well. Even you can say that this drilling machine will be scheduled only because when you have a technicians and your company has like say 100 drilling machines, and you need to know which drilling machine is available now before you schedule the work, right? So that's why you have even equipment as a resource, and even the facilities. As I said, for the healthcare industry, if you want to schedule an operating room or a consulting room, that can be a resource as well, and it can be scheduled as well. And that way you know what room is available for the doctors to go and work, right? And a pool is like a concept where you have a pool of resources, but you do not know exactly which resource will be going to be needed for that to fulfill that work order. You can assign to pool and like a soft book, and then later one of the resources from the pool will be allocated. Okay. And then crew is a group of resource. If there is a work needs by a group of people, then you take a crew, right? And if you see the list of resource already, you can see these people, right? And you the important criteria for resources. Now, if you see, we got in the work order, we got this a skill set or the specialization that's needed to fulfill that work order, right? Like via the resource requirement. Which one I used now? This one. So if you see this resource requirement, it has the necessary conditions, right? I need this skill set, and I have to be fulfilled in this time to this time, this day to this day, right? And how do you know which resource is going to do that? So in the resource should have that skill sets, and resource should has that. So here, you see. So the resource should have that necessary skill set. That's why system will take right side of this, which is resource, and his characteristics, and try to match with this resource requirement. Okay, and then it also have the work hours. So the resource should be how is happening to my environment here. Just a moment. Work order tab should open. Work order. I don't know. Something is blocking. I have to check this environment. Become issue now. Okay. So typically, when you open work order, work hours, right? It's similar to your customer service schedule. The previous days, earlier days, to open a calendar where you can say what is the work hours for this, resource. Like when does this resource will work? Basically, that's what it is. So if I try to, okay, let me not get into lots of the details now because we have a few more things to cover. But yeah, so the work hours will define what is the time that the particular resource is going to work. If the resource wants to apply leave, they use time of request to basically apply leave, and then you can go to approval, and if you want, and then it will approve, then it will be reflected in the work hours. Okay. So this is now you set up the resource and you have the resource requirement, and then as I said, you use the schedule board or directly drag and drop, or you use the find availability to open a scheduling assistant, or even there's another way which is mostly used one, to be honest. Just click book. This will also launch the scheduling assistant. It will take all the necessary filters you have put in the field job in the resource requirement. Okay, and then it will open the scheduling assistant accordingly. So if you see when it opens, it will open the, you see, the relevant resources that can be that has skill set from this territory, and then which is available in this date. All I need to do is I just click and I book. I know it's going through error, but if you see this in view, you see the actual date is like start date is 12. I mean the date that we committed to customer is 12, but the actual time is going to be 12:23. Any guess why? It's because it takes the travel time as 23. So it calculates the current position of this resource, and it will find the distance or travel needed, time needed to go to the customer location and book it. This can be done upfront also. So you can ask a question: how come this thing will know the future time, how much time it is going to take? Well, it takes the average or the history of time usually taken from this cover this distance based on that particular location and the traffic so far from the big map inventory. So it will try to give approximate travel time, but on the actual day itself, when the field engineer travels, that will be a more approximate. Okay, I think it's not to error because of some issue I am having. I just booked. Yeah, I think it's not to error. So that's how this is a third tool. Third way of opening the scheduling assistant or booking someone, scheduling someone. Once the moment you schedule, right?
I
think we
think
lost
some issue. Yeah, I think some issue. He left
I
from
think
the
it says someone removed me from the meeting. I don't know whether it's automatic setting or not.
Okay. Yeah. You can continue. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So in that way, you have the work order and then workforce, and then the scheduling is done. All good. Okay. These are basic stuffs. Okay. And coming back to the last one, I want to cover two things. I want to cover is the inventory and the auto scheduling. But let me not go into now. Auto creating. Sorry. So if you had a chance, try to explore.
You are not sharing your screen, I think.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for reminding me. So to auto schedule the work order, right? You can create an agreement as well. So agreement is very similar to entitlement. If I'm not going to create anything, I don't have time. But if I can share my screen, you can see that you see it just says what is the customer I'm going to create an work order against, and what are the if I open the booking setup, which is child of the agreement, it will show how frequent it is to be generated. It says there's it needs to be generated, or it needs to be the recurrence. It needs to be generated every 1 week. In this case, every Wednesday, and it has to be starting from the day to end day. And then it also has the works. A product needs to be involved, and the service needs to be involved, and to-do list, the service task that needs to be involved. And once you save it on that specific period of time, based on the recurrence, you see it generates the work order like this automatically. That is what auto generation of work orders from agreements. And inventory is something once you have an product and you use it, it needs to be deleted from your inventory, right? This is not a massive inventory management like your ERP, but it does hold certain value. You can map your warehouse, you can specify your warehouse here, and then you can have transfers between the warehouse whenever someone picks the equipment and transfer between the warehouse. And you can also define your field engineer truck. If someone has to carry some equipments in their truck and they need to service in the customer location, right? So in that way, you can completely track what product has been picked up from the warehouse and what product has been installed at the customer location, right from pickup picking up from warehouse to deliver the customer location, you can track everything. So you can track which field technician truck has been, which field engineer picked it up, and then maybe he will transfer to some other field engineer, and then someone will go and put it on the customer location, and eventually the piece of equipment will travel all the way from specific warehouse to customer location. And end of the day, when it's been installed in the customer location, it will become a customer asset. You see, you will have quantity available and quantity on hand to show what is available and what is being used. Okay. And this is a massive one to cover in 45 minutes. And I tried my best to put, yeah.
Yeah, Jiva, actually, yeah, we are already in time now. So hopefully we covered, right? Almost we tried. Actually, I understand it's 45 minutes. It's very less time actually to complete the whole flow. But I think we covered, right?
Yeah, we covered the key things.
Because actually, I have a couple of questions in the chat window. So we have to take up those questions also.
Yeah, let me just take 3 minutes to address these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the question?
I can tell you, Santosh has a question. Is there any difference in RESCO field service and MS field service?
Okay, you can unmute and ask. So when you say RESCO field service, are you talking about the RESCO field app, mobile app, and difference between the field service mobile app?
Yeah, this is the question. Actually, is there any difference in RESCO field service and Microsoft field services?
That's what the question is not clear. So I think what he's asking is there a difference between RESCO mobile app and the field service mobile app?
Yeah,
correct?
I believe that's, yeah. Santosh is there actually. He can open up.
Actually, in the beginning, when Microsoft acquire, or you can say take that RESCO or the field service app from RESCO, and at the time we create project and like this, and then we use the RESCO app. Now they transferred, we move from the RESCO to mobile app, or you can say Microsoft mobile app. Is there any feature difference, any other difference we have?
Yeah, so RESCO mobile app, the base, it works, it uses the Xamarin technology at the base, right? And you need to have you need to learn the whole RESCO development completely separately, and you have to do this in your RESCO solution, right? But with the field service mobile, what Microsoft is trying to do is to create a streamlined experience, a development experience and usage experience by completely avoiding the RESCO. In that way, let's say completely avoiding, but right now the path is like that, what I can see. So the field service mobile app to do is, you don't need to know a separate RESCO, the RESCO development, how it works or how it is done. The normal model-driven app, if you know how to customize your model-driven app or your CRM, you can already build what is needed for the mobile app. And once you have installed it in a mobile app, you pretty much can see that. That's the difference. Yeah. And field service mobile app is
question.
Yeah.
Is there any feature difference between those or not?
Yeah. Okay. So feature difference, field service mobile app is something is evolving, right? And RESCO has been there for a while. So definitely RESCO has more features with respect to, but I do not have a line-to-line comparison right now, but I'm pretty sure I can say that right now RESCO has more features, and field service mobile app is getting features every single release. And at one point of time, I think next July or this, April or somewhere, the RESCO mobile app is going to be completely unsupported by Microsoft. Oh, it's going to be only field service mobile app. So I'm not sure about exact date. I can find it out, but you have to be very cautious if you are using it. If you have not considered about your migration strategy, you have to start considering about that. And this is what I see. The moment I do some customizations in the field service mobile app in the browser, I can see that it's getting reflected in the phone app right away. And you can see my bookings, I can just play around with the work orders, bookings, and I can just do that. Right now, I don't have one, but you got the point, right? Yeah. Shall I go to the next question?
Okay, yeah. Sumit has one question actually. Work order product and service can be interfaced from case to work order. This is the question.
Work order
product and service can be interfaced from case to work order.
What do you mean by interface from case to work order? You're saying the products that I use in the case will get transformed to the work order when I convert from case to work order, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what also I'm thinking actually.
Yeah, I got it. I'm not sure on that part, to be honest. I know some information should be transferred. I need to check, but I can check and let you know when the next presenter takes a session.
Yep. So next question is, can we include the tools which this is Devashish actually question. Can we include the tools which resource need to carry on site on work order? Question
Okay,
from
yeah,
Devashish.
that's what the product is actually.
So Jiva, is there any, difference in categorization, like if it's a product or a tool which the technician needs to support their work, like let's say, for example, a ladder, like they need to service something in a height, they need a ladder or a specific tool, which they don't give it to the customer. So is there any categorization type of those?
Yeah. So, okay. Sorry, my bad. I should have made it clear, right? So let me, okay. Okay, so the product, right? What do you put here? The work order product. It's called work order product, which you're gonna put into the customer, right? And there is something called equipments as well, which you can just use it. Which I said no, it's another resources which you can allocate and use it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the next question?
Yeah.
Is there a
Yeah,
mapping
so the
between
next-
incidents and skills which decides technician which maps skills? Incidents and skills. Yeah, there is a mapping between incidents and skills. So that way, when you add an incident to the work order, the skills also gets loaded from the incident into the work order, eventually into the resource requirement as well.
So
Thanks,
the next is from Santosh again. How contact resource use mobile app for app license user is needed?
Yeah, contact user cannot use mobile app. So contact user, only user with license, resource of type user can use mobile app.
Okay.
The idea behind the contact and account resource is actually to use them for allocation.
So I think that was the last question, Jiva. I think we don't have any further questions.
Yeah. All right. If there's any question, just let me know. I'll try to address it whenever I have time. But thanks for the opportunity, Shashi and Golaknath, and thanks for the attendees for joining the session. Hope it was useful. Thanks. Let me just turn mute and
Thanks, Jiva.
Thanks, Jiva.
It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jiva.